Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out-of-this-world story from rSpace. Well, if it isn't another week of emotional whiplash and bridges burning. Today on rSpace, doors are slamming shut, windows of opportunity are creaking open, and somewhere in the distance, a certain affair partner is probably ugly crying into a steering wheel. Let's dive into part 2. Update 5. Explicit conversation on wife's phone. Alright, let's just start where I left off. Tuesday night. Sorry if it got a bit graphic. The whole time, I was holding my stomach but simultaneously thinking, I want her and him to see this account one day. I want them to know what I saw. Not some abstract concept of the affair, so much is lost in abstraction. No, I saw you, and I know the specific details of what you did. I might have stopped typing, but I didn't sleep that night. I just sat there in disbelief, watching them lying next to each other on my bed. They went at it again in the early hours of the morning. No toys this time. I've been grieving a dead person, the person I thought I married, a person who might have never existed. That's how I feel. She's gone, and I have to put that grief aside to deal with the funeral. What did I learn last night? I know from the affair partner's phone call that he's not in an open marriage and that they don't use protection. I learned that they act like a married couple together. This is routine for them. I learned that my wife keeps a box full of sex toys in the house, where she keeps them, and what they are for. Throughout all of the audio, my name wasn't mentioned once. I wonder if they had an agreement not to mention their spouses in each other's presence. It was like I don't exist. Anyway, I slept for maybe an hour on the flight home. I went straight to the PI's office. They had pictures and video of him arriving and leaving on Monday night, arriving on Tuesday night, and leaving on Wednesday morning. They had a spreadsheet detailing an account of everything they saw. They could see them through the window for the period that the curtain was open. They said they were kissing on the sofa after eating. That makes sense. They went quiet, and I didn't hear her say she was going to have a shower. She was probably sitting really close to him and not speaking loud enough for the voice-activated recorder to catch it. I got home to an empty house around lunchtime. There were 7 towels in the clothes bin. She didn't even try to hide them. The bed sheets were not washed. They were still on the bed. Absolutely vile. The first thing I did was get our suitcases out of the shed. I packed one for me and one for her. I put them in the sitting room. I took the box of sex toys and put them in a nearby room. I spent the day preparing my list of questions and practicing my breathing, the thing that was going to allow me to remain angry but controlled. I charged the voice-activated recorder and the camera. I put the voice-activated recorder back where it was in the fireplace and the camera in an inconspicuous corner of the room. She got home a little after 6:30 p.m., saw the suitcases, and asked me if I was going somewhere. I said, that depends on you. Sit down. We have to talk. I told her I knew about the affair with the affair partner. She tried to deny it. I told her not to BS me. I know a lot more than she thinks. A lot more. She tried to gaslight me, told me I was acting crazy and had trust issues. I left the room and came back with the box. I threw it on the ground, and the sex toys went everywhere. She claimed that they were hers, and that she was too embarrassed to admit to me that she needed them. I told her she needed to change tactics because her BSing was going to get her nowhere, and her gaslighting wasn't going to work this time. She started to cry. That's when I realized I felt nothing. The way I felt about her was the same way I felt about a sci-fi character that is under the influence of an alien parasite. It looks like the person I know, but it's not the same person. 3 weeks ago, her tears would have stirred up all sorts of emotions in me, making me want to do anything for her to feel better, but not now. I asked if she wanted a divorce. She insisted she didn't. She said the affair partner was just a side project, and that it was me she wanted to be with, that she loved me. She asked me what she had to do to make it up to me. Now it was time for my infidelity baseball. I didn't use that term. Not sure what Americans think of a phrase like that, but here, it's a bit of cringe. I just told her the lies had to stop. I was going to ask her a series of questions. I already knew the answers to a large proportion of them, but there were some I didn't know. If I caught her in 3 lies, I was going to pick up that suitcase and leave, and she would never see me again. I said if she wanted me to stay, that could only happen if I had full disclosure of the affair. That was the only way to repair the trust in our relationship. You tell me everything. She agreed by nodding, but she was sobbing. I asked if she was having sex with him or if it was just an emotional affair. She admitted to sex. I asked if they had sex in our house and in our bed. She tried to claim they didn't, that they went to a hotel. I said, that's your first lie. I know you met him here, and I know you F him in my bed. 2 more and we're done. I asked when was the last time she had sex with him. She admitted it was that morning. I asked if they had sex the night before as well. She admitted they had. I asked how often she met him for sex. She said only while I was away, once a month, unless she was on her period. I asked if she met him casually under any other circumstances, such as for lunch while at work. She said no. When did this affair start? She told me she knew him before we met. He was someone he had a crush on in college, but never acted upon. Then when she met him at one of my work Christmas parties, they hit it off. She said the interaction was flirtatious and felt inappropriate, which is why she never told me she had known him before. He found her on LinkedIn shortly after that and started messaging her. That was 7 years ago. I asked why she was hiding sex toys in the house. She claimed she used them when I wasn't around and was too embarrassed to tell me. I told her that was her second lie, and if she lied again, I would not be responding. I'd just leave and put myself on the next flight. At this stage, I felt I had to give her something so she'd realize the extent of what I already knew. So I told her sissy affair partner liked to be penetrated with sex toys, and that I knew she did that to him. She asked how I could possibly know that. I turned to lie. I told her I was talking to his wife. The look on her face at the moment was absolutely priceless. She looked like a stunned mullet as she absorbed the gravity of what I was saying. His wife knows about the affair too. Little does she know, it was around the same time the PI knocked on the affair partner's door to give his wife the evidence. So, she either does know or will soon at this point. Man, she was pale, and being Irish, she's kind of starting at a low base. I just knew her stomach dropped at that point. I told her I meant it. I would be on the next one-way flight to Australia at any cost if she lied to me one more time. She started crying again and begging me to stop. Again, she said she'd do anything to fix this and asked me what she needed to do. I told her she needed to tell me everything and answer my questions. I asked if she performed fellatio on him. She admitted she did. I asked if she used protection for everything. She said no. I asked if she loved him. She said she felt something, but she wouldn't call it love. I asked if she'd end the affair. She said she would. I asked if she enjoyed sex more with him than with me. She said sex with him was different, but not more enjoyable. I asked if she used protection during sex. She hesitated for ages. I asked again and again. I told her if she didn't answer, I was walking out forever. She finally admitted she didn't. Post-edit, there were 2 more questions I had asked at this point that were omitted in error. I asked if she let him finish inside her. She admitted she did. I asked if she has ever aborted a pregnancy. She was horrified by that one, but answered no. I handed her the separation agreement. I told her if she didn't sign, I was going to file in Australia. I told her if she did sign, she had 14 days to vacate, and one way or another, I was not spending those days under the same roof as her. If she couldn't stay elsewhere, I would stay in a hotel on joint funds. She refused to sign. She begged me to stay. Then her phone rang. Affair partner's wife had just thrown him out. He was yelling something down the phone, and she was saying she didn't know. I just left them to it and walked out. That was Wednesday evening, the last time I saw her. I've blocked her everywhere. My employers will let me work from Australia for a while, then I'll see about transferring or finding another job. I'm kind of excited about starting a new life there and being closer to family. I was in my early 20s when I left. I've spent half of my life in Ireland. Post-edit. I glossed over the phone call she received at the end, and it's giving people the wrong impression of what happened. I could see her phone was buzzing and asked if it was him. She said yes. I told her to answer it. I wanted to hear what he had to say, that the consequences of their actions were causing him pain. It was a heated conversation, and while it had her attention, I decided that was a good time to start the next phase of the plan, ghosting her. I wasn't far down the street when she tried calling me. That's when I blocked her number. Yes, she has been trying to call me to circumvent the blocked number. I'm not taking her calls. I do have to answer unknown callers because it could be the affair partner's wife. I just hung up once I knew it's her. The voice-activated recorder is still there and still recording. I haven't checked it yet. I'll update everyone once I feel ready to check it. The level of detail is brutal. I mean, there's probably some things I could have gone without hearing, but honestly, it's probably the only way to process something like this. No room for abstraction. No way for her to twist the truth into something more palatable. Update 6. Again, thank you for all the supportive messages, and I'm especially glad to hear that this saga of mine is benefiting others who are going through similar ordeals. Most of the action since my last update happened yesterday. Between Wednesday evening and Saturday, I was focused on ghosting my soon-to-be ex-wife, ignoring all avenues of contact. I'm giving this to you in the order of events rather than the order I learned of the events. I checked the voice-activated recorder and voicemail on Sunday morning, March 9th, 2025. I had no idea what my wife was doing or what was happening at home before then. Let's start from the point I drove away. From the voice-activated recorder, I know that when she realized I was gone, she called out my name and opened the front door. I know she tried to call me about then, so she must have hung up on the affair partner without much warning. She called someone else. From the tone of it, must have been her mother or brother, I don't know. She told them I've left her. Whoever it was must have asked why, because she responded by saying she didn't want to get into it because it was private, but she was worried I wouldn't come back and didn't know where I was. I didn't hear any lies, but I also didn't hear a true account of events. About half an hour later, I had left, and while this phone conversation was still ongoing, the affair partner showed up at our door. She ended the phone conversation. Affair partner said something that was too muffled for me to understand. I don't think she opened the door to him, so it was shouted through triple glazed glass. She said he can't be here, that he has done enough damage and he has to leave right now. Then she said if he didn't leave, she'd call the guards. That's the Irish police. They're called Garda Síochána, but colloquially people just call them the guards. I didn't hear from her through the voice-activated recorder again for the night, which just means she didn't stay in the sitting room. She could have left the house just to visit a friend because I received another call that night from her using a number I didn't recognize. I hung up once I knew it was her. She left me a voicemail saying how sorry she was, that she loved me, that she never wanted to see affair partner again. It was over. She said it was just physical and didn't mean anything. Mostly, she was begging me to call her back or to come home. Most of the voicemail messages were like that, or please let me know you're not dead. In one, she was angry. She called me a coward for running away, but after leaving that message, she left another one apologizing and saying she didn't mean it. One thing I found odd was that none of her family had tried to contact me. The voice-activated recorder cleared that up. She was telling them not to, and just to let her know if I contacted them. You know what? If I didn't have that voice-activated recorder, I would have been left assuming she was spouting all sorts of venom about me to her family and mine, knowing that she didn't calm me down a bit. Once you've lost trust in someone, those kinds of actions are the only possible way to know if they're telling the truth. I'm not saying that redeems her, but it helps alleviate my guilt for all the snooping and spying. It still feels dirty sometimes. Sunday morning, 9 a.m., the call I'd been waiting for came through. It was the affair partner's wife. She thanked me for sending her the PI evidence and for making her aware of the affair. I asked her what she knew. Keep in mind, the only PI evidence only showed he wasn't where he was supposed to be and that he was with my wife. She repeated a bunch of the lies the affair partner had told her. He told her that they only met recently and it was a one-time thing. It didn't mean anything and he wouldn't see her again. He must have said that minutes before showing up at our house. I told her there was so much more, that I wasn't comfortable discussing it over the phone and asked if she'd like to meet. She was at her parents' house with her son out of the country, in-country Wicklow. I figured I could use some fresh air, so I offered to go to her. It was kind of perfect. She had her parents to take care of the child, and we would have some privacy while also not being alone in the house. Wicklow is a beautiful country, very green, lots of forestry. The house was only about a 90-minute drive from the city. I felt a wave of guilt when I met their son and her parents welcomed me, but we got down to business pretty quickly. I told her that every word her husband told her is a lie, but I didn't expect her to take my word for anything. I pulled out my wife's old phone and let her peruse the messages. I told her they go back 3 years, and that also wasn't the start. She was shocked by that and disgusted at the way they talked to each other. She said he was never that crass with her. Then I played the voice-activated recorder audio from the infidelity baseball exercise where my wife admitted to a 7-year-long affair. That hit her hard, and she took a deep breath. I let her know I had explicit video of 2 sexual encounters on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning. She said she didn't want to see that, but asked me to describe it at a high level. I told her it was mostly what you'd expect, except for the part where my wife pulled out a box of toys and used one on him. She looked like she was going to be sick. I didn't want to be crass, but I felt that little detail would be a nice cheap shot she could launch at him if he started getting nasty. From her reaction, I don't think this act was performed on him at home, but I didn't want to pry. Finally, I played the voice-activated recording audio of her husband arriving at our house minutes after telling her he was done with her. I said I was sorry I couldn't leave any of this evidence with her. I told her I'd let her know if anything else turned up on the voice-activated recorder that she should know about. My next stop was a visit to the in-laws. I wasn't ready to contact my wife yet, but to head off any missing persons report and having the Gardaí appear at my office, I decided this needed to happen. If her car was still there, I was going to keep driving. It wasn't. I kept it simple. They offered me coffee and we sat down to chat. I asked if they had been talking to my wife. Her father said they had. I asked if they knew I was looking to separate from her. They both nodded. I asked if she had told them why. She had not. I informed them that I caught her with another man while I was traveling for work last week. I showed them the PI photos and accounts of this man visiting on Monday evening and then staying the night on Tuesday evening. Her father apologized to me and said he didn't raise her to be like that. Her mom asked how long this has been going on. I told her she admitted to a 7-year-long affair. I told them we were getting a divorce. There was no coming back from this, and that by refusing to move out of the house, my wife was just costing us both money, as I had to stay in a hotel and was entitled to use joint funds for that. I said there was no universe where I would be willing to continue living under the same roof as her, and it was in her best interest to find somewhere else to stay until we can sell the place. They agreed with this and said they'd talk to her. I got home and found an email from my soon-to-be ex-wife saying she will be willing to sign the separation agreement and move back to her parents' place, but she wants us to meet and talk. I haven't responded as of the time of writing this, Monday evening. At about midnight, I called home and told my parents what was happening. It was kind of emotional. I haven't been back there since before COVID. They were quite upset. I didn't tell them I was thinking of returning home just in case those plans change. Now you're caught up. Her sudden willingness to sign the separation agreement and leaving the house makes it clear she knows she's lost all leverage. Whether she genuinely wants to talk or just make one last attempt at damage control, it's probably best to stay firm and let the paperwork do the talking. Update 7. It's Saturday, March 15th. It has been another eventful week, to say the least. Before I continue here, I want to point out something. I'm seeing a lot of comments talking about how well I'm handling the situation. But that has a lot to do with this community. Not just the encouraging words of support, but the fact that you consistently bring me back to reality. My decisions and actions at this difficult time are impressing people, but I haven't written much about my thoughts. I constantly confront an overwhelming desire for everything to go back to the way it was, and that makes my soon-to-be ex-wife's begging very tempting. I entertain the thoughts of taking her back all the time. Then I imagine the sage advice I'd get here if I were to write an update stating that I'm going to reconcile. Well, that, and the image of her using a toy while also being intimate with him. But in any case, you're helping me stay grounded. The idea of reconciliation is a fantasy. There's no coming back from 7 years of regular, repeated betrayal. You help more than you might realize to bring me back to reality. Thank you. Anyway, I'm writing this from my house. My last update ended with my wife's email. I broke my silence with her by responding to her insistence on meeting to talk before she signs the separation agreement. I responded with 2 words, not happening. 24 hours later, I received another email from her. A 15,000-word email with an attachment. The attachment was a signed separation agreement. No alterations. She agreed to everything. But now I have to sift through all this BS to find the details of when can I go home, right? That might have been true a few years ago, but in 2025, it goes like this. Me. Please read the attached email. Ignore all of the content except for that specifically pertaining to when I can move back into my house and when my wife will be moving out. ChatGPT. Your wife will be moving out on Thursday, and the house will be empty for 5 p.m. the same day. I responded to her with a screenshot of this and TLDR. I do love Ireland, but the temptation of a new start is just too much. I have decided to go back to Australia despite having the separation agreement. There's no immediate hurry, but I managed to get flights in July. The company I work for has offered me a transfer to Sydney. I'll finish out my current role and start a new one. I'm not from Sydney, but it's a short flight to visit home whenever I want to. My family are delighted. In the meantime, I'll be selling this house. That's really not going to be difficult due to Ireland's housing crisis. Australia, too, is in the midst of a housing crisis, but it's not as extreme as Ireland's, and I have family to fall back on over there while I get on my feet. The affair partner has been hanging around like a bad smell. I think that also influenced my soon-to-be ex-wife's decision to move out. I've been catching up on the voice-activated recorder recordings. He showed up on last Sunday, March 9th, while I was visiting his wife. She let him in this time. Yeah, he's really struggling. He's living with his parents in Kilkenny. That's a long commute to Dublin, something like 130 kilometers. He very much wants to get together with my soon-to-be ex-wife. She told him in no uncertain terms she wasn't interested, that he needs to forget about her, that she loves her husband and she intends to do everything she can to win me back. He literally begged her and started crying. She told him their relationship was a huge mistake and it wasn't worth it. She reiterated that he needs to forget about her. She said she does not feel that way about him, that their monthly fling was just a bit of fun, and that, given the consequences of their actions, it had not been worth it. It never should have happened. She offered him water, which he rejected. She then told him it was time for him to leave and that she doesn't want to see him back here. He left. I contacted his wife to update her on what was happening here, to let her know her husband is still pestering my wife. We had lunch today. We talked for over 2 hours and shared a bottle of wine. He hasn't been back to their house since she booted him out. She has been to see a solicitor and has initiated her own separation process. She is still waiting for a draft separation agreement. I was more frank with her this time about my position on everything, but there was no coming back after what I had seen and what I know. She can't quite take the same stance as me, though, given that there is a child to think about. It has been really hard on her son, and the jerk hasn't even attempted to see him. Having children involved makes it so much worse. As much as I'm loving watching the affair partner fall apart, I do hope he gets his head back in the game for his son's sake. My soon-to-be ex-wife still hasn't told our mutual friends what happened, One contacted me yesterday to tell me how devastated my wife is and asked if there was any possibility of reconciliation. I told her about the affair and asked her to spread the word to our other friends so I wouldn't have to take any more calls like this supporting her. I told her there was no way on earth this goes any way other than divorce. She accepted what I was saying and said she'd let everyone know. I added that I have a ridiculous amount of evidence if anyone needs to see it, but I doubt my wife will deny it. The voice-activated recorder didn't pick up much else. A few sobbing sessions while my soon-to-be ex-wife was alone in the house. One side of a few phone conversations. That's it. Another week in paradise. My plans now are to soak up some of the local culture in the next few months before I head back home. I'll start with the Dublin Paddy's Day Parade Monday, and maybe a Guinness or two. Now let's see how the community is reacting to this. First up, you're a bad mamma jamma, OP, to follow through with this with your head high even after the begging. Good on you, mate. I hope you continue to heal and find additional happiness back home. One other person chimes in, it is incredible that a affair partner still visits your soon-to-be ex-wife. You should be happy you don't have a child with that woman. Sincerely, I cannot imagine your soon-to-be ex-wife to be beautiful. I'm pretty sure in Australia you will find a lot better women while having a better life. The affair partner still lurking around like a lost puppy is just the icing on the pathetic cake. Actions speak louder than words, and her actions over the last 7 years say everything. Moving back to Australia sounds like the fresh start you deserve. A new job, family support, and no ghosts from this mess hanging around? That's the right move. I hope you enjoyed these last few months in Ireland. Soak in the culture, and then step into this new chapter with confidence. Also, your 2-word response, not happening? Absolute legend move. What do you make of all this? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.